Welcome to the Parenting with Impact podcast with your hosts Elaine Taylor-Klaus and Diane Dempster, co-creators of ImpactParents.com, an online community, award-winning blog, and service organization helping parents all over the world to raise complex kids become capable, independent adults.
Hi everyone, Elaine and Diane here, and we know that you want your complex kids to grow up to be happy and independent, and yet you're not always sure how or when to help with that.
In this podcast, we'll encourage you to collaborate with all kinds of complex kids and support them in navigating life and learning.
And we'll interview leading experts from around the world, as well as parents in our own community, talking about how training for parents actually helps these complex kids.
We'll talk about the issues we hear parents struggling with all the time and how a coach approach can support and empower your amazing young people.
We won't tell you what to do. We're going to help you figure out how. So let's move on to the next conversation. Hey, everybody. It's Elaine
and Diane.
And we are here for, are you ready for it? Wait for it.
Wait.
The 100th episode of the Parenting with Impact podcast. Woohoo!
Woo! 100 episodes. This is exciting.
It's amazing. And when you I was thinking about it. If you think about the fact that we've been working on this work and doing this amazing work in this community all over the world for a dozen years.
More than a dozen years, actually.
Can you do that math for a minute? Well,
wait.
We started in October 11th, 2011, right?
Oh, we kicked off, but we started doing this work like before that.
In 2010,
yes.
Right.
We started dreaming before that. So we go by the dreaming date or the launching date. I don't know which one.
We're a dozen years in, and we finally got our act together to do a podcast a year and a half ago. That took a little while.
We had a couple of tries in the middle there, but we've been
doing the interviews. So you've been listening to the bonus interviews on the podcast. We were doing interviews with experts. We were just doing them on the website because getting it into podcast format for us to, what are we, Jen? I guess we're baby boomers, technically.
Well, yeah, I'm a baby boomer.
Longer. I am too. But, I'm the last year of the baby boom.
But so let's shout out to the podcast team and to Market Domination and the folks there that help us out every week and at Parenting with Impact. So thank you.
And make it all happen.
Team.
And we are now 100 episodes in, which is just amazing. And the feedback has been extraordinary. I knew that people love this work, but it's really interesting when you move into a new venue, right? Into a new medium. And all these people who are our people, they've been with us all these years, but now they're able to access the information in a different way that fits in their life better. Right?
Well, and I think that's it. It's like everybody digests stuff in different ways. I mean, it's like we started with the blogs and then we started doing videos. And we've been doing this way before people were doing virtual. I remember when we started meeting on Zoom and it was like this big new thing. And then all of a sudden when the pandemic hit, everybody was on Zoom. And when we would do stuff like this, we would always have to I would drive over to your house and we'd set up the studio. And it's now it's just turn on the freaking camera. Here we are. We're ready to go.
That's right. So there's been a huge amount of support for us supporting you. And so I guess I really want to say thank you. Because we wouldn't be here doing this work. And we both say every week how lucky we feel to be able to get to do this amazing work in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And we wouldn't do it if there weren't thousands and thousands and thousands of people out there like you listening and reading and watching and learning and trying and implementing and coming back and getting more. And
I was thinking about the fact that we close, I don't know if it's every podcast or most of the podcasts with thank you for what you're doing. At the end of the day, you make the difference, right? It's a sort of, yes, we love this and we love to listen to ourselves talk and we love what we do. But this is about you guys. And it's just amazing to me. I was on the phone the other day with this woman who's like, oh my gosh, Diane, I've listened to every single one of your podcasts. And I'm like,
right.
I haven't even listened to every single one of our podcasts. I was a little embarrassed, but I'm like, oh, please let her talk about one that I've actually listened to. Because I know, Elaine, you do a lot of them and you remember things much better than I do in terms of this vein of stuff. But it's you guys, right? You guys are doing the work every day. And it warms our heart.
Well, and it changes lives. I mean, the thing about, so this is a podcast, right? It's just a podcast. You're just listening while you're driving wherever you're going or running or cooking or whatever you're doing. And so on the one hand, it's background noise.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this work, this coach approach, this what I've been really talking about a lot in the last year, the neurodiversity informed coach approach, right? This is what we do at Impact. Is it's taking coaching skills and information about neurodiversity and blending them together to give you a different way, a different lens to talk to your kids, to your partners, to your colleagues, right? To your teachers about what's going on with these amazing kids who are complicated, amazing and complicated. And so that's what I think is so extraordinary is that it's not just a podcast, because the impact of the podcast is that we're giving people and our guests, our amazing guest experts. And when we get to riff with each other, when we get to do success stories with our clients, people are leaving with something they can use or something they can try or something they can implement.
Yeah, it's not just a bunch of information. And that's one of the things I'm most proud about. And yes, on the podcast. And then, how many of the people that join the podcast or listen to the podcast come on to our community and they're doing our programs and they're getting involved with us more succinctly to kind of really put the information into practice. But what's coming up for me, as you were saying that, Elaine, about the coach approach is, when we started this, and it's in both of our bios, it's like when we became coaches, we became much better parents, much better parents. And we say that. And it's like, I was reflecting on that the other day. And, I think about our bench of coaches and one of the underlying similarities with every single one of them is they'll say, when I became a coach, I became a better parent.
Or when I started learning this work.
When I started learning this work, right? It's just sort of the coaching tools are really so foundational, and they're just great communication skills that we all need.
Right. And empowerment skills. Like there's an inspiration piece. You hear us talk about parenting from inspiration instead of desperation.
Right.
And that's so key, that what we really are about is inspiring you to believe and to see what's possible for yourself, for your kids, for your relationship with them, for your partnerships. And then to learn some tools to help you begin to make that possibility real for your life. That's why we're here. That's what this is about.
Well, and the other piece of this is that coaching is about digging deep and moving forward. And when I use that language, digging deep, part of this is looking at our own stuff as parents, but part of this is really looking at what's really going on underneath this. And I think that this is the piece that's so critical and so important, is that it's easy to just sit on the face of this and say, my kid has ADHD, my kid has anxiety, my kid has autism, whatever it is, and grab something from it. But if you look at what's really going underneath it, it's like, I'm feeling guilt and shame because of the way I've been parenting for the last 20 years, and I'm more likely to get triggered. Or my kid is overwhelmed by what's going on in the classroom, and so they're avoiding schoolwork. Or they're, it's like this sort of looking at what's really going on, digging deep at the situation so that you can then take action is such a key part of what I think the coach approach is all about.
Well, I was having a conversation with a colleague. I'm going to be doing a summit, and we were talking about this concept of neurocoaching, and it comes out of neuropsychology, and it's very belief based. It's kind of cognitive behavioral based, from what I can tell. And the notion was that if we dig deep and we understand what our beliefs are, we can shift our beliefs to change our actions. And what we were talking about that I think is so important, and I really want to hit this home, is that the beliefs are essential and they're not everything, right? It's like we have to understand the beliefs and the thoughts and the beliefs and the feelings underneath each other, right? The layers we talk about all the time. And we also have to understand the wiring. We have to understand the executive function piece that may be at play. So it's not just that I believe, using your example, I feel embarrassed or ashamed because I didn't understand what my kid needed, and now I understand differently. But we also then want to say, okay, so now my kid's dealing with, let's call it a working memory issue. That's a structural piece that I need to externalize and work with. My beliefs aren't going to have anything to do with how I address that. Understanding the structural piece is as important as the mindset piece. It's those two pieces together that are so critical.
Well, and the other piece of this is about, I was listening to a webinar or something yesterday, and they were talking about the fact that in order to get somewhere, you have to know where you are, right? It's a sort of, if you're looking at a map, she had this like old timey map, and she gets the map out and she's like, okay, yeah, I want to go to Cincinnati, but it's like, I got to know where I am right now in order to figure out how to get to Cincinnati. And so part of this is this introspection that we talk about all the time of what's, where am I? Where's my kid? We talk about the stair steps and about meeting our kids where they are and raising the bar from there. It's the same thing with us. It's like, we got to know where we are and take baby steps from where we are instead of like just focusing on where we want to be. And that's another key component of what we work on in the coach approach, I think.
Well, yeah. And as you said that, the first thing I thought was how often when a parent calls or texts or emails or, however the 1,000 ways they reach out to us and say, my kid was just diagnosed with whatever it is. My response is always congratulations.
Yeah.
Because now you're beginning to know better what you're dealing with. And when you know better, you can do better, right? You can do differently, but you can't support it if you don't understand whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we want to do today? We want to celebrate 100 episodes. Yay us, yay you, right? And yay team, because we have this amazing team. Can I take the privilege of celebrating, like, it's not just 100 episodes of the podcast, but it's a dozen years of doing this amazing work.
Yeah.
That's allowed us to support hundreds of thousands of families all over the world.
Yeah.
Which is, get your head around that for a minute. Right?
Well, in multiple languages, I want to just add that.
Yes. We've taught Sanity School in English, Spanish, and Norwegian. And then people have translated into a few other languages on their own. So all over the world, multiple languages. What was the other thing I was thinking? My favorite is 6 continents. We've got clients on 6 continents, and just a pitch for Antarctica. I'm still looking.
If any of you are in Antarctica, please sign up for our mailing list. Well, all of you should please sign up.
Yes.
Everybody sign up for the mailing list if you're not on the mailing list, but especially if you're in Antarctica, because then we can say we're on every continent, because that'll feel really
so
good.
I've been wanting this for years. I don't
know that I ever really thought. I guess people do live in Antarctica. I want to meet somebody.
I just think we just need a nerdy scientist. It shouldn't be hard to find. Who's got kids? It shouldn't be that hard to find. We just got to keep putting it out there in the universe. But the other thing I want to say about that, Diane, is that like hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, which is super cool, and all in their own way, using it in all different kinds of ways. Yeah. And it's allowed us to build this amazing team. We have an international team. We have Canada. We have lots of different states in the US. And now we have this amazing bench of coaches, again, who are all over the place.
All over the world. Right.
Who are supporting people in our community with group coaching and private coaching and coaching, these 4-week coaching groups we started doing in the last couple of years. So there's just this extraordinary capacity. I said to a group last week, I was finishing up with a queer and quirky group, and I said, we started this because we saw the need, and what we're really good at is see a need, fill a need. Yeah. When we see the need, we're going to step in and see what can we do to fill that need. And of course, so this is an invitation to those of you listening. If there's a need you see, let us know.
Let us know.
If we can fill it, we will.
Well, it's funny. Let's reflect on the ones that so the queer and quirky group is a great example. It's like we did a podcast early on around neurodiverse kids who are dealing with gender issues or LGBTQ. I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong initials.
Let's just call it the alphabet mafia.
The alphabet, yeah. The other piece is the Spanish piece. The other piece is the young adult group. Parents of young adults, you have come out of the woodwork in the last 3 years. Amazing. And we are excited to support you. I guess, honestly, I'm going to say this because we now have young adults, and it's more fun it's sometimes more fun to work with people who are dealing with the same kind of issues that we are dealing with currently, as opposed to ones that we're dealing with 10 years ago, although we love you who have elementary age kids too. Don't
we have plenty of coaches on the team who are experts there. I want to say 2 years ago today, we didn't have a young adult group. And now we have 2 that meet twice a month.
Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. And that's because you told us what you needed. Right. And we respond.
The other piece that we've been focused on for the last couple of years, Elaine, is this underlying personal development, spiritual development stuff. It's like we've started our positive intelligence program. I'm so excited to see what's next on that front, because so many of you Elaine and I are both personal development junkies. We're both really into this about what's going on with us. And I know a lot of you guys are as well. And so it's just exciting to be able to think about how do you support you on this journey and not just focus in on your kids?
Right. And that's so, I want to hone in on this because this is really important because, you're always hearing us say that if you don't know where to focus, lean into relationship or focus on self-care. And those two are kind of in this circle around our model because it's self-care, relationship. But self-care isn't just about bubble baths, right? No. Self-care is about doing your own deep inner work, as Seth Curler likes to call it. I love that language that he uses. And so, positive intelligence, we've had over 100 members of our community go through that training, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. And we're starting to look at other ways to expand the kind of coaching part of the coach approach that we do. That's not always about the families and the kids, but sometimes it's about you.
Yeah.
So more to come on that one. Heading down the pike, right? Yeah. What else do we want to mention before we?
Well, I think the other thing that's the week that this is airing, I think we're launching book number 3, right?
Yes. Here's a preview of it for those of you on YouTube. This is what the cover looks like. Parenting with Impact. You can see this is not the finished copy yet. But Parenting with Impact is going to be available, and I think it'll be free on Kindle on March 8th. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. It'll be free.
And so that's coming out. So we now have 3 books, Parenting with Impact, with 3 different publishers. Parenting with Impact, The Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids with ADHD, Anxiety, and More. And now, the first one was Parenting ADHD Now.
Yes.
Sorry. Second one is The Essential Guide, and the third one is Parenting with Impact, which is stories from this podcast, and then coaching tools for each of the podcast episodes. Diane and I go through and kind of give you some coaching topics or tools or ways to implement what you've learned in that podcast. So that's going to be kind of fun. And just a quick celebration, January 2023, the month or two before this episode, we had over about 12,000 downloads.
Yeah, 11,000 something podcast downloads. And I think the other thing, cool. I was looking, since we started the podcast, we've had 16,000 new people join our community. And so again, I'm going to put a plug in for that. If you listen to us every week, or if you listen to us whenever, please, sign up for our mailing list, get one of those free tip sheets and become part of our community, because it's just an amazing community. I was out there we have a couple Facebook groups, but I was out there on one of our Facebook groups, and it's the amount of love and non-judgment and support that our parents give to each other. Our coaches are out there all the time. I mean, it's just this amazing place and I know some of you are like, I don't like Facebook, but it's a great, figure out how to be out there, create a profile just to be part of our community. Because
we have lots of people who have
yes, it's true.
Just on that. And you know what I was thinking as we were kind of getting ready to do this? Do you realize we've been doing a newsletter every single week, and each week we publish at least 3 pieces of content, now 4 with the podcast.
Right.
Every week since the fall of 2011.
How many newsletters is that? How many?
I don't want to count. I don't want to know. It's been a lot.
We have thousands of, if you guys like to read, I know you guys like to listen because you're listening to the podcast, but if you like to read, you will read blog articles until you can't read anymore, quite frankly. And then we'll add new ones by then.
But so each week, if you get the newsletter, we make it really short, sweet, and simple. So it's a great way to kind of stay current without overwhelming yourself. All right. I think that one other thing I wanted to talk about, success stories. On this podcast, we interview amazing guest experts, as you guys have all learned from these amazing people, and you're going to be in the book. And sometimes Diane and I riff on a topic, right? Something that we've been hearing that's coming up in our community, and we just kind of go deeper, do a deeper dive into something we feel like we want to teach about. And then sometimes we get to do success stories, and we haven't done quite as many as I think we probably would like to.
Oh, wait. So let's put a plug in for that. I mean, if you're one of our people and you're listening to this podcast and you want to share some of your successes with the rest of the audience, let us know. Send us notes. Send a note to the team at Impact Parents, and we'll talk to you about getting on the podcast.
So can I share a couple of celebrations just from last week?
Yes, absolutely.
So I got on, I had 2 calls back to back last week. I had the last queer and quirky call and the last for now. I think we're probably going to start a new group because there was a request for it, but we're still working that out. And then I was on a group coaching PSS call. And one of the celebrations in the group coaching was somebody got onto the group coaching call with me and said, I just want to celebrate how much I love working with my Impact Parents coach. And her particular coach was Tracy. And we have this amazing bench of coaches, but she was talking about how amazing it was, what a perfect fit this coach was for her and her partner working with the particular issues they were working with their kid. So plug for our bench, but also
plug for our bench. And it's like this sort of, I know that some of us need that weekly support. I mean, we've got a lot of people who do private coaching and then group coaching, and they're like kind of alternating between the two. And I mean, there's just so much that we do and so many ways to access our information. And, if you haven't, I keep plugging. If you haven't checked us out, please do and look at some of our programs and get some help putting some of these great ideas that you're getting from the podcast into practice.
Okay. So here's another one I got. This came in writing last week. Teresa said, thanks for your guidance and support. I knew I needed to change, but I had no idea how to do it. Because what I've learned so far from Impact Parents, I got a text from my daughter that was so different, so loving. And so truly, she said, for the first time in 20 years, I have hope. Thanks again for the support. Isn't that amazing?
I just got chills. Yeah. Like first time in 20 years. I mean, how many of us get to a point? I remember one of our early stories about the mom who was with the 8-year-old that was just waiting for her to grow up and move out of the house.
Yeah, that was Michelle.
And how many of us get into that place? It's like, just hold my breath until they graduate. And we know that that's not what it's all about.
No, well, we want to be in relationship with our kids. And this is all about what do we need to do to have the healthiest, best relationships we can with ourselves, with our partners and friends and family, and with our kids, right? And colleagues, I guess, as well. Is that a good place for us to wrap?
I think it is.
Anything I'm missing? I guess there was another testimonial I pulled because it was from a woman who's both a therapist and in one of our coaching groups and talked about how much this is helping her as a professional. So that's the only piece. We do trainings and have a professional certification program. And she just said she's listening and learning on professional level skills to help her and invite her to action in her support of parents, which I thought was really super cool. Yeah. All right. So the book's out on March 8th. Keep your eyes peeled for that, if you will. Know that you're making a difference by listening in, tuning in. I was just thinking as you were talking earlier, Diane, that maybe we should start adding to the end of the podcast something about insights, takeaways, because we always end all of our coaching sessions with what are you taking away from today? And so I want to invite people, because I know we've been celebrating, but even in the celebrations, I guarantee you there's some insight or some awareness that came to you in this conversation. So my invitation is for you to ask yourself, what am I taking away from this today? And what action do I want to commit to moving forward from here?
Well, and I think that this is the thing. It's like, Elaine, yes, we come and we do these every week. And yes, we're doing great programming and we love what we do. And you guys are the ones that are doing the work.
That's right.
Every day, all day. And just
even when you don't want to.
Even when you don't want to. Just know our hearts are with you. You're our inspiration. You're what keeps us coming every week. And we love y'all and are glad for what you're doing in the world for yourself and for your kids. At the end of the day, you're the ones that make the difference.
Yeah. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Parenting with Impact podcast with Elaine and Diane. For more information on the Impact Parents community or to join Sanity School for Parents, please visit impactparents.com. If you like what you've heard, please share this podcast with friends who need similar guidance and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For the essentials of Elaine and Diane's coach approach to parenting, download a free tip sheet at impactparents.com/podcast.
Behavior therapy training for parents is actually recommended as a first-line treatment for complex kids. For information about Sanity School, our training program for parents or teachers, which has helped thousands of families around the globe, visit impactparents.com/sanityschool.